Talk to me about how you choose investments. If people go to Pantera, your website, they can look at your portfolio companies, and it's an impressive list. I listed off some of them earlier. Audius was in the news yesterday, I think, with the TikTok deal. So congrats on that. I know you had a big price spike. I know you're in for the long run, but that's amazing. I mean, 0x, 1inch, not to mention the Coinbases and the Bitstamps. How do you look at these things? How do you invest in these things? And how do you stay calm when like Audius pops like that in the day and you say, okay, but we're here for the 20-year look? Like, how do you manage all that?
Yeah, so, the space is getting more interesting. I have to admit, back in the day it was fun because there was only one thing, Bitcoin. And even that's kind of hard to get your head around. Now there's, thousands of different things to look at. So one of the things we've done is we've grown our team. We have 50 people now when it used to be, just a handful of us. So we're looking at tons of deals, trying to figure out which ones have value. Occasionally we come into the markets with a view, kind of like a global macro style view that we want, this type of, cross-border money movement company, or we want, scalability company. But mainly it's just, we get pitched all kinds of, fascinating things. And we try and see if, the product can work, the team's gonna be able to do it. Great example, I got a cold email from Brendan Ike, and he said, hey, we've never met, but I invented JavaScript, and I was the chief architect of Netscape and the co-founder and CEO of Mozilla, and I'm doing a blockchain browser. You want to talk? I'm like, I definitely want to talk. And so, we just keep hearing interesting ideas like that and trying to figure out whether they're doable, because, we've seen a lot of projects that come up with something in their white paper that we ultimately conclude literally is impossible. Even if you had 1,000 developers in 1,000 years, you actually can't build what's in there. But if it is buildable and the team seems like they're going to be able to motivate a community to help them, build out the project, then we take a strong look. And in our portfolio, we tried to invest in what we think is going to happen kind of in this serial era. There are we've done 3 venture funds. We're doing our 4th right now. Each of those first 3 is kind of like a geological strata, like a snapshot of the time. Our first fund was all about how to buy Bitcoin, like Bitstamp, how to store it, like Zoppo, kind of primitives like Ripple Labs, Circle, kind of just the very basics of the industry. And then that kind of got built out. So the second fund was about cross-border money movement, and mainly using just Bitcoin, not other blockchains. So invested in a bunch of regional cross-border money movement companies, things like that. But then that kind of got built out because most countries have a pretty good dominant player now. And then the third fund was much more about other blockchains, scalability, non-financial use cases. So each fund's kind of a snapshot, and that's what we're looking for now. We're just starting to raise money for our next fund, and there's all kinds of new non-financial use cases that we're investing in. Scalability is still important, and in looking at those entrepreneurs, we're looking for projects that can really make an impact. Audius, being a great example. Building a decentralized version of the music sharing sites we're all used to. And that's a huge theme for us and for our whole industry, is so-called Web 3.0, doing what we were doing with companies like Uber, Airbnb, but doing a decentralized version of them. And, seems pretty obvious that's the future.
Right, and so Audius isn't DeFi per se, but it's Web 3.0, where it's kind of blockchain based. Is that how you would describe it to someone on the streets?
Yeah, all these Web 2.0 applications that, like Airbnb, people with excess capacity for housing, with people who need accommodation, match them up. It's a great idea, but it might not need to be a 30% tax, for the rest of eternity, right? So you can build a decentralized version of many of those businesses. And the music sharing business is a great example. The artists actually get very small cut of the amount of money spent on their production, and all these middlemen, music sharing sites, take most of the value. And so if you can use blockchain to connect the artist with the consumer, you can give both of them a much better experience at a lower rate.
Right, and they can buy equity with tokens at the same time, right?
Yeah, and so the community can participate, in the value creation, and that is a big difference between protocol tokens and equity, which is funded, the dot-com boom, like you were mentioning, that, none of the value went to the community, none of the value went to the people who built the protocols that drive, drive the internet. All of it went to the handful of companies, like the Facebooks and the Googles that got control of certain areas. And, so very little goes to the producer of the content. Facebook's a great example. 2.4 billion people spend 50 minutes a day producing content for Facebook. They don't get any value, and they actually end up paying about half of people's data bill that they're paying is paying for ads and malware that are being downloaded while they're waiting for what they actually are searching for. So doing it in a decentralized way where the community itself shares in the success, I think is obviously more equitable, but I think it's, the way that their future will go.